Hey everybody, welcome to Matt Men, your source for all things professional wrestling. I'm Major Zarian, back this week, live on a Thursday, doing the show. If you listen to this on podcast, we're not live. This is pre-recorded, but I'm Major Zarian. Of course, with me as always, the blood to my guts, Rich Stambolian.
Ooh, I'm going to inject that blood right back into you, and you're going to get stronger. That's how HGH works, right?
Is that you? I'm just going to get stronger and stronger. What's going on, Rich?
Nothing, man. How you doing? I'm ready to give you this blood transfusion to make us both stronger.
I'm very tired today. I got to tell you, very, very tired. I had a very long night last night, but I did watch. I watched the ending of AEW in my Uber on my Uber ride back to the house, and I watched the ending. Obviously, the remainder of the show that I didn't watch this morning and last night. A lot to talk about, obviously, on that front. There's a ton happening. Really interesting stuff. We also have to talk about Daniel Bryan, everything happening on the WWE side. Obviously, there's a pay-per-view coming up. WrestleMania Backlash is coming up in a couple of weeks. So we have a ton of stuff to go into. But before we do, I want to thank our sponsor today, and that's Cavas Theory. Guys, if you love pro wrestling apparel like I do, but I don't like it so in your face. I don't want to wear a shirt that says, hey, listen, man, I absolutely love pro wrestling. Here you go. Bam. I kind of want it to be subtle. I like it to be subtle. So, Cavas Theory has a great product for you guys. They got some great snapbacks and other stuff coming out also. But the cool thing is that they have all different types of hats. Like one is Japanese wrestling inspired, one is Lucha Libre inspired, one obviously American style. And it's very, it's not in your face, which I like. It's very subtle. And it's like if you're walking down the street, you're going to see someone's going to, see you wearing that, and you're going to say, yeah, you know what? They're wearing a wrestling thing. I like that. Go to cavastheory.com. Check out that product line. Great sponsor of the show. And, of course, friends of the show. Rich.
Yes, sir.
How do you want to begin this? Where do you want to go?
Let's get the WWE stuff out of the way really quick, especially Raw, because I want to kind of talk about the NXT thing. And there's like a lot to go into this week with the extraneous news, which I think is a lot of fun. There's a lot of wrestling happening. There's a lot of wrestling news happening and stuff that's kind of popping in and out over the next couple of weeks where it's spinning my head, not spinning my head, but I'm like, whoa, what's going to happen here? Anyway,
a lot of moving parts.
You want to start with SmackDown?
Yeah.
So Roman Reigns beats Daniel Bryan to retain the Universal Championship, banning Daniel Bryan from SmackDown. That's a stipulation of the match, right?
Yeah.
Now, the rumor has it that Daniel Bryan has been working without a contract for who knows how long.
It expired Friday.
Okay.
Friday night, the contract expired at midnight.
So, as much as I would love this dude to show up on AEW next week, I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know. By the way, I thought that was a really good match, the Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan match. I don't think people went into it thinking Daniel Bryan would have a chance of winning the title, but there was intrigue in it because obviously there's a stipulation attached to it where Daniel Bryan would have to leave the brand that he's on. So Daniel Bryan loses, and immediately the speculation began, well, he's obviously going to Raw or NXT. Couple days go by, and now you kind of, all those little hints that Daniel Bryan's been dropping over the last, month or so about his future in pro wrestling and what he's planning kind of came forward when the news came out that, and obviously Fightful, our friends over at Fightful have confirmed it, obviously F4W, Wrestling Observer has confirmed it, that Daniel Bryan's contract expired Saturday morning at midnight. So right now, Daniel Bryan does not have a contract. I know that WWE was very much trying to get him to sign before it ran out. I think this is very interesting considering the fact that when I spoke to people at WWE, they told me that they believe his contract was going to expire in July. That's what I was told by two people. I've also heard September. Obviously, neither one of those are correct. And he's a free agent now. Now, back to your question, Rich. Where the hell does he end up?
I mean, speculatively, you know what I would love? I would love him to be announced as a surprise announcement for the G1 later this year. I would love him to show up on AEW, pop the ratings, and fight Kenny Omega. But I do think 65% of me feels like he's going to re-sign with WWE, part-time schedule, and he's going to be like a specialty guy, you know?
Yeah, I mean, listen, there is that Bella connection. You know, he's beloved in that company. So,
Yeah.
I don't think, I don't know. I don't know what to think. You know, there is something that says, like, this guy, you know, he's at the end, obviously. He's had a tumultuous career with injuries and things like that. You know, maybe he wants to get out there and do something a little different. Maybe go where, you know, tour, go everywhere. But
right.
A family with, you know, do you want to do that at this point in your career if you're him? I don't know.
Well, that's the thing, right? That's the thing that we often don't think about as wrestling fans. Like we don't think about anybody's family. You know, we just think that everybody wants to wrestle all the time, everywhere, right? And that's a rarity. You know, like two guys off the top of my head when they left WWE, Cody and Mox were the two guys that were like, "Yo, we're hitting the ground running," right?
Did you think Cody would have the success that he did?
Absolutely. That dude's a hard worker, especially when I feel like he's also the type of guy to not just put stuff on the internet like he did with that list, that epic list that he put out like 2 years ago of these dream matches that he'd wanted to have. I think as soon as I saw that, I was like, this guy's going to follow through on this, you know? Whereas I do feel like a lot of guys who leave or get fired are like, yeah, I got something in the works and nothing materializes, you know?
So you got to think now. Think of the three big free agents currently available: Daniel Bryan, Samoa Joe, and Andrade. Right? Those three are the three big. Obviously, Samoa Joe and Daniel Bryan a little bit bigger, but I mean, isn't this the perfect moment for somebody to grab Joe and Bryan and say, you know what, guys, do the match you've wanted to do for the last 20 years or 15 years, whatever it's been, you know?
I agree with that. I feel like a mega show is something to do that at, you know, like where it's just pure wrestling, you know, like if they do something for All In, let's say, or if there's like another like all like Impact, Ring of Honor, New Japan show, and then you have Daniel versus Joe on the bill, forget about it.
Yeah, I think it's you know, we were talking about how the indies were I mean, just essentially pillaged by WWE over the last couple of years, and really, you know, COVID was a big hit to the independents and the talent that's readily available. Who's available? We've been saying that for how long now? Who's available? Well, you have CM Punk. That's the needle mover. You have, you know, who could move the needle? I think Daniel Bryan is a needle mover for any company.
Absolutely.
You know, regardless if he goes to NXT, I think if he goes to NXT, he's a needle mover there. If he goes to AEW, obviously the amount of matches he could possibly have there are endless. Same thing with Samoa Joe. Same thing for Andrade. Very interesting period right now. Unexpectedly, this has become a very interesting period where a lot of people were speculating, and maybe, you know, post WrestleMania things slowed down. Obviously, AEW has a pay-per-view at the end of the month, so it'll pick up then. But between April WrestleMania and June, really, it's a slowdown period, and we're seeing the total opposite happen.
Well, we're also seeing like this is like an undercurrent of boom, right? Like, do you agree with that? Where you have these free agents, you have stuff in the works, like the Forbidden Door nonsense that's happening, like the doors open between New Japan and AEW, and you have like I don't know if you've been following MLW, but there's kind of a slow resurrection of Lucha Underground happening.
Yeah. Is that in the notes? I didn't see him put it in the notes, but we could definitely go into
notes. It's not in the notes, but I figured why not just talk about it, because they brought back MLW brought back the Dario Cueto character as El Jefe.
Yes.
And he owned the temple and he was shot, but they brought him back, the same actor, arguably playing the same character, but they call him El Jefe. So I'm like, yo, are they going to do kind of like an offshoot of Lucha, right? It was a dead property. The dudes at MLW have been booking their guys very smartly over the past like 6 months. I think it's going to happen. And you're going to have this also.
Well, they're calling it Aztec Underground. They're calling it Aztec Underground. They are going to do something.
It's going to be this bizarro mush of wrestling. And who's to say, again, this is fantasy booking, but I get chills thinking about these potential matches, you know, like, all right, what if Samoa Joe doesn't go to AEW, but he goes to NWA and beats Nick Aldis for the NWA title, and then he wrestles Kenny Omega like 2 weeks later?
Same thing with Daniel Bryan, right?
Yeah, like you could put these guys anywhere.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. But he was moved to the alumni section. Now, listen, it's always also possible that this is a work, and they have a deal in place and they just want people to speculate, which is what exactly what they do. So it is possible. So this week's SmackDown, did you see? It's a throwback.
Yeah.
So it's a throwback show, but what kind of throwback? It's like a throwback to the 70s and 80s.
It looks like they're doing 80s, but I don't think we're going to see the fist. I think we're just going to get like vivid 80s color schemes and like retro vignettes and stuff like that.
Let me see what they're saying on their website. Are they saying anything on the website? Because it's interesting. When you go to WWE, oh, here we go. So here is a vignette. I just saw a commercial for it. They're using the old 80s WWF stuff. You're absolutely right. You know what I think it's going to be? I think these guys are all going to be in like old school gear.
That would be cool. I'm sorry. I have a question for you about the Daniel Bryan stuff.
Yeah.
If Daniel Bryan jumped ship to any other company, the three things I've seen on online chatter, and I want to know which one you would equate it to. All right. Rick Rude showing up on Nitro.
Okay.
Hogan showing up on WCW.
Okay.
Or Kurt Angle showing up on TNA.
I don't know. I would say it would be like Kurt Angle showing up on TNA, because that was a really big deal. But I don't know if this is, it really depends on what happens with people's interests. Like, are you interested in Bryan Danielson? Or are you interested in Daniel Bryan as a WWE character? We don't know that. I assume people are going to be very much interested if Daniel Bryan becomes, goes back to Bryan Danielson and he's wrestling in wherever. I think people Dragon. The American Dragon. I mean, he could be the American Dragon. There's a lot you could do with Daniel Bryan. It just depends on what he wants to do. So we'll see what happens. But he is moved to the alumni section of the website. So where does he go? We'll find out. Throwback show, like we said. Raw notes, Rich. You want to go into Raw a little bit? Yikes! Go and tell me.
I kind of don't want to cover Raw anymore.
I know you're done.
I might be done. I hate saying it, but I might be done because the last few weeks I've just not been into it. And you know what killed it for me this week?
Which part?
The Eva Marie return. As soon as I saw that on TV, I was like, I'm gonna go inside.
So I was told by somebody. I was told by somebody over at USA. He's like, and they're like, hey, don't say anything yet, but Eva Marie's coming back. I'm like, when? He goes, this month, within April. It's going to be in April. That's what they told me. It's going to be this month. And I guess it was, right? Because what was Monday? Monday was the 3rd. So he was off by a week. Yeah. But Eva Marie back. Okay. What? I don't know. Whatever. I mean, she does get unnecessary hatred.
She does,
but in a weird way. I understand why people find her to be not what they want to watch. But however, you know what?
Irritating. Yeah,
it is. And if she plays that character, then great. I just don't want to see her wrestle.
Leans into it. Yeah, well, that's gonna happen. Also, like when Eva Marie got bounced that first time, and they brought out Mandy Rose, I think both of us were like, oh, cool. They found something for that weird gimmick, and Mandy Rose is arguably a million times better than what they want.
So you know
for
what?
Eva Marie.
Why is Mandy Rose so much more liked than Eva Marie?
I think she's more likable.
Is it like as a person? You think? I think in real life, or
I think likability comes across very strong on your TV screen. And I feel like there's very few people in the company that are unlikable. And I think, you know what? I'll put Randy Orton on that list. When you look at Randy Orton, he is a very unlikable looking person.
Very,
right?
Yeah.
And you put Eva Marie, listen, babes could be unlikable too, guys, And
but you know what though? It is interesting you brought up Mandy Rose, babes? Because you are right. It was the same concept of the gimmick, right? She was a babe. She was hot. She was overly sexy, and that was her entire thing, and that was Eva Marie's thing. So why is Eva Marie so much hated? You know what? People just don't like redheads. That's what it is.
You think so?
I don't know. Who knows? Listen, maybe she's not likable. I don't know. I don't know anything about her person. She could be the sweetest person on the planet. I have no idea, but she did get a lot of hatred about this. Let's see where it goes. I don't know. But it's Raw is a very frustrating show to watch. Whenever we talk negatively about Raw, then we automatically get labeled as AEW fans, and we dislike WWE. Listen, man, I absolutely love SmackDown. Yeah. I think SmackDown is probably one of the better shows on TV. NXT I absolutely love. I just don't love Raw, and I don't understand how they could take this show and muck it up so much.
I think they just don't care. I think this is Vince's ultimate vision for the product, like whimsical entertainment that is just popcorn chewing nonsense, right? Where an amazing 20 years ago in 2001, what a different show it was. And those years went by like this.
Dude, even 5 years ago. Yeah. Let's go back to 2016. We were watching Raw and we were loving it. We were loving everything obviously there was stuff that we didn't like, but I thought that was a great period for them with Seth Rollins being on top. And I thought that everything they did from like 2014 on was really good. Really good stuff. And then it just, it went into this dry period again. And that's where we're sitting. And you're getting stuff like, what you're seeing now I don't even know, because I was trying to find something positive and I can't even find it. Angel Garza beat Drew Gulak. Okay, that was cool. Shoved a rose up his ass. Is this what we're doing now? This is the gimmick?
This is the gimmick, baby.
A thorny rose, you're just shoving up your opponent's ass. It's like the body bag for The Undertaker. Instead, it's with a rose up your ass. Okay. Yep. I guess that's cool.
Also, I think we'll both agree that Raw is like big boy country, right?
Oh, yeah, big time. NXT.
Yeah.
Did you like it? I thought NXT was a really solid show. If they keep doing this, it'll be phenomenal.
That first match between Swerve and Leon Ruff, phenomenal, dude. Like, what a match. And
False count anywhere.
I don't think I've ever seen somebody like chuck a toolbox at somebody like that on like wrestling television.
Dude, you know what? You could tell that they're really behind Scott. Like, they're very big on him. I think he's super talented. I thought that was a really good opener. I thought the Cameron Grimes stuff was really cool when he couldn't get in the nightclub because Ted DiBiase bought the club. I thought that was awesome. And they're going to have DiBiase manage him, right? Is that where we're leading up to?
I feel like they're either going to have him manage him or they're going to have DiBiase manage somebody else to take Cameron Grimes' money. Because that was a good old school bit with like he's standing outside the club screaming like DiBiase. It was a lot of fun. And you had he beat, I don't know what his name was in Evolve, but an Evolve guy jumped over and the NXT name,
a football
Asher
player.
Hale.
Yeah, he's a no. Oh yeah, who is Asher? No, wasn't there a? Doesn't Isaiah Swerve Scott have a bodyguard now?
Yeah, he's
a football player.
He's a former football player, and he also hosts he works for NXT and he works for the WWE backstage as like a consultant on their memorabilia. So he shows up on that new memorabilia show.
Okay, got it. Oh,
he's a big dude.
That was him. Okay, got it.
Yes. Yeah, he's like 6'5", 300 pounds, like big dude, And I feel like they probably looked at this guy and they were like, we can definitely do something with him.
Yeah, very cool. What else? Timothy Thatcher and Ciampa, grizzled young vets. What you think of this?
I enjoyed it, and it's funny how like these guys look so interchangeable, And if you look at the grizzled young vets, James Drake and Zach Gibson, they kind of look like John Silver and Alex Reynolds from the Dark Order, But solid match. Where do you see Tim Thatcher becoming NXT champ one day?
I don't know, man. My opinion of him is really skewed. Yeah, so I have no idea. I don't know. Like there are people that discovered him on NXT and NXT alone. They're like they absolutely love the character. I've seen him in so many boring matches in Evolve, and I love that style. It just did nothing for me. Where I don't know. My gauge. It's not fair for me to judge him.
You felt when you would watch those Evolve matches, you felt like you were transported back to the 40s watching Vern Gagne.
Yeah, I'm also. By the way, by the time he would have his match, I'm 8 deep in those Modelos.
Oh, yeah.
I've had about 8 Modelos sitting down there with my pile of cans around me. I got to tell you guys, if Evolve, Evolve's done, but if there's ever another wrestling show with Laboom and you happen to see me there, just look down. You will see a pile of just cans around my seat.
I do miss going to shows with you and drinking $3 beers all afternoon.
Oh man, I love those too. I miss that big time. I don't know. With Thatcher, by the way, I have the total opposite of that Thatcher effect on an AEW talent. You want to guess who?
Layla Hirsch.
No. Ethan Page. I think Ethan Page is going to be a humongous star because of how great his work in Evolve was.
Well, they're resurrecting the shit between him and Darby.
Yeah, I'm going to make that post today.
Pretty fantastic.
Yeah, I got this crazy close-up video of Ethan Page essentially throwing him off the stage into the pillar, into the post of the ring, and snapping him in half. I mean, it was unbelievable to see.
Darby's indestructible, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So you also had Karen Cross coming out. Karen Cross and Scarlett look like they work at a casino in hell. I like them as a couple. That's not a knock on them at all. But they get interrupted by Pete Dunne, Kyle O'Reilly, and Finn Balor. How do you like cool guy Kyle O'Reilly?
I hate cool guy Kyle O'Reilly. I absolutely hate it. I thought Karrion Kross's promo was really good. You could tell that this guy's a huge star. This is from every indicator I'm told in this company that they're going to move this guy up fast, and they're gonna protect him tremendously on the main roster.
I'm cool with that. Do you think Kyle O'Reilly needs to pull back on the cool boy shit?
The cool boy shit is a little too much.
The hat and
it's a little
like he's very close to Ska. I tweeted a couple of weeks ago he looks like a 15-year-old on his first vacation.
I love that.
Again, it's not a knock on Kyle O'Reilly. I just think it's funny how like this dude went from like a very serious like grappler and like hitman for the Undisputed Era, and now he's got like the little fedora on and the flannel, and
I know
he listens to music and he's bipping and bopping.
I don't want him to bip and bop.
No bipping and bopping?
No bipping and bopping.
What about skipping and scopping?
Skipping and scopping, perfectly fine. Big brawl. There was a big brawl, and Cross gets the better of them. So
yeah. You also had Saray beating Zeta Raymer, who kind of came out of nowhere. She's been on TV for the last couple of weeks. Tony Storm was cut. Tony Storm tried to do a run-in, but was cut off by Zoe Stark.
Yeah.
And LA Knight beat Jake Atlas. I thought Jake Atlas got canned, but I was wrong.
He didn't even get an entrance.
No, he was just in the ring.
Yeah, in the main event, Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae defeated NXT Women's Tag Team Champions Ember Moon and Shotzi in a street fight to win the titles. I thought that was pretty cool.
Loved it. Great match.
Very good main event.
Shotzi doing the splash off the structure through the announce table was one of the better bumps I've seen in WWE in a very long time.
Yeah, very good. Very good bump. We'll talk about a bad bump also later on in the show, but that was a very good bump. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. You want to go into the AEW news, or you want to go into Blood and Guts?
Let's quickly do the AEW news, and then we'll dive right into Blood and Guts, which I thoroughly enjoyed. So it looks like we're getting Double or Nothing running at full capacity.
Yes, full arena, full building over at Daly's Place for Double or Nothing. By the way, they had a large crowd last night for that show. Yeah. I don't have the exact attendance numbers. I'm sure somebody could send it to me. I don't have it, but they're going to be doing a full show, so probably maybe 5,000, whatever they consider full. 5,000, whatever that building fits. I can't remember top of my head, but listen, it's going to be cool to see that building filled for a pay-per-view, which is great. Live Dynamite on that Friday, by the way, because they are preempted for the NBA playoffs that Thursday.
Very cool.
So they're going head-to-head with SmackDown on the 26th, whatever that Friday is.
That Friday will be the 29th. Because 29th.
29th Saturday.
Yeah, 29th is the 30th is Saturday. The
30th
show's on the
is
30th.
Sunday.
30th is Saturday.
I'm looking at a calendar.
I might be wrong. Hold on a second. I can't tell my S's from my S's.
I'm looking at the calendar.
You're right. Sorry, guys.
It's okay. That's okay.
I'm living in the future.
It's okay. Listen, man, you're a day ahead. You're always a day ahead.
I'm one day in the future.
Listen, I interesting to see what that does to SmackDown. It's interesting to see what it does to AEW going head to head with SmackDown. I also think maybe this is a little bit of a test to see where the gauge is. All right, we'll see what happens. Double or Nothing updated card. You're gonna have Sheeta versus Britt Baker. I think this is Baker's moment to win the title. Sure. Kenny's also going to defend against the winner of next week's match between Pac and Orange Cassidy. I really don't want it to be Orange Cassidy and Kenny Omega, but I also don't think it should be Pac. I'm a little about that match for the title.
I think it's going to be Cassidy, dude.
Yeah, but do you want to see that match as a pay-per-view?
Yes, I do. You know why?
Okay. Why?
Because I'm a firm believer that this is going to sound very fanboyish, but it's true. I'm a fanboy. I think Kenny Omega can have any type of match with anybody. And I don't think it's
going to be a bad match.
No, but when he does shit like this, I think it's basically like, I'm going to show you how I have a comedy match. And I feel like this is going to be half serious, half hilarity with a very gigantic screw finish.
Okay. Very possible.
If that happens.
Very possible.
Listen, the promo that Kenny cut on him yesterday was pretty great.
Kenny was, I like this new version of Kenny. I'm into him.
That's awesome.
I'm into it. So the show started off with a parental advisory. They ran this a couple times. They ran a parental advisory. Parental or parental? What do you say?
I say parental.
You could say both, right? Parental, parental.
I think the emphasis is on the wrong syllable, the way you say it.
Syllables. There was a parental advisory in the beginning, the first hour. So this was interesting. So Tony Khan came out before the show and told everybody, it's like, listen, the first hour of the show's pre-taped. So watch the show, but your reaction is what we're piping in.
Yeah.
So it kind of worked out. I didn't even realize it was the first hour was pre-recorded until like midway through. Somebody's like, hey, did you notice how the crowd filled up all of a sudden after the first hour? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I didn't even know. He's like, yeah, because it was pre-recorded. I'm like, oh, shit, okay.
Pretty interesting. Also, Tony Khan said he was offering refunds for anybody who didn't think that was the show that they wanted to attend.
Really? I wonder if anybody took a refund. I
feel like you'd have to be a real dickhead to take a refund after watching that whole thing, you know? Yeah. It looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah. Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston defeated Kenny Omega and Michael Nakazawa with Don Callis. This was like a weird match. Okay, whatever. There really wasn't anything.
Good Brothers, Young Bucks show up.
Yeah.
They messed up Jon Moxley. It was awesome.
Yeah. This match, very much enjoyed. Cody Rhodes, QT Marshall. What'd you think of this?
Oh, dude. Great Match. They're really protecting Anthony Ogogo too.
Big time, yeah.
Like I do like that it looks like Cody's next feud is going to be with Anthony Ogogo.
That's the pay-per-view match, yeah.
Yeah. Getting draped with like the Union Jack, QT being like a despicable heel works for him. Cody kind of being put again in that underdog position really works for him. Whenever Cody's the underdog, like his dad, it works. There's something about having like him, Dustin, and Dusty being the underdog, the career underdogs, and it working.
So I got to tell you, you know what's interesting? Cody's so big, and like he looks remarkable when he does a figure four because like he's laying across, and you realize like, my God, he's like so lanky, but like I'm not saying in a bad way. He's just long, and he's putting that figure four on, and he's like cranking it. I'm like, you know what? Old school finish, wins with a figure four leg lock. Looks great, You know
why? Because I feel like he does the thing that a lot of more indie guys don't, is that when he puts the locks in, he flexes his entire body.
Yeah. The whole like everything tightens up.
Like he glams it up for the camera, and it looks menacing, right? As opposed to just like a guy strapping, like I'll give you a good example. Like, I think it was a while before they showed Rusev to like really cinch in that camel clutch, to make it look like gnarly.
Yeah. Guys, I also want to remind you guys, if you want to ask us a question, we're going to be answering them at the end of the show. Submit them in the chat room. MG Geek and Jonathan, our moderators, are going to be posting it in our notes so we could do our best to answer your questions. So the Anthony Ogogo thing is interesting. Cody's training him.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess he thinks he's ready,
Which is cool. I mean, like, he effed up Mr. Ass last week.
He did.
Yeah. And again, we talked about this before. The Ethan Page and Darby stuff goes back years, and now Ethan Page teaming with Scorpio Sky. They cut a promo on Darby Allin and Sting. Darby gets thrown down a flight of stairs. You can't fake that.
No, that bump looked nasty and it looked good. It was. I think they're gonna do some pretty crazy stuff. Those two.
Yeah.
Britt Baker with Rebel defeated Julia Hart and then cut a promo on Sheet afterwards. All right, cool. I think this is a good moment for Britt Baker. Now is the time you put the title on her. AEW World Tag Team Championship #1 contendership 4-way SCU versus Varsity Blondes versus Jurassic Express versus the Acclaimed. SCU wins. Will face the Young Bucks next week. Now, right. If they lose, is it for them?
I think they go their separate ways if they lose.
So they're still going with that. All right. Interested to see where that goes. What'd you think of this match? I thought it was fine. Good match.
It was good. It was a solid match. Like, I have no complaints about any of their tag team matches, to be honest with you. Very good, hard hitting. Like, everybody brings a lot to the table. I tweeted this out last night. The big thing I love about AEW and obviously other wrestling companies is they're showcasing different styles of wrestling on a primetime television spot. Whereas, let's say WWE, for example, it's the cookie cutter. This is the way we do things.
Yeah.
And I would say maybe Randy Orton and AJ Styles are the last couple of, and a little bit Daniel Bryan are the last couple of guys left that have like their own like definitive style.
Yeah, I think I like to see the different styles mix up, which is always a positive.
And it's a good segue into Kenny running down Orange Cassidy to his face.
Listen, I get Orange. I say this all the time. I get it. It's fine. Not a main event world title match on a pay-per-view. My opinion.
You think it's going to close the show or open the show?
I don't know what other matches we have, but if your world title's not ending the show, then that's a problem, right?
I kind of feel like it won't end the show. I feel like it's going to be like at the top or like second before last.
But see, here's the problem, right? Look at this. Look at it this way. The last pay-per-view they had was stellar, except for that ending.
Mm-hmm.
You're now now you got to make up. You got to overcompensate for that moment. And they kind of did the following show. It was a really good show, but you still gotta convince people that are willing to pay $49 for the show. It's worth it because that's the thing that you remember is that final match, that final moment. Is Orange Cassidy and Kenny Omega a worthy main event for a pay-per-view that you're trying to kind of sway people's opinion of the previous one?
Well, it is wrestling, right? Card subject to change. And going by your argument, again, this is just my speculation, but going by your argument, who's to say that Kenny's just breaking Orange's chops up until the pay-per-view and goes, hey, guess what? Why don't you pick the stipulation, right? Let's say Orange Cassidy picks like a lumberjack match or like a barbed wire match or something, right?
Yeah.
Who's to say that Orange won't get taken out of the picture and has to name a replacement, and that replacement being Jon Moxley?
Listen, very possible.
Yeah.
Very, very possible. This could all be, a swerve, which is fine, whatever. But
yeah.
I just don't feel like, you're in that process where you're trying to build a new viewership of casual fans. Right. I don't know if they're gonna. Maybe the casual fan will love it. I don't know. We'll see. So Kenny runs him down. Now we go into our blood and guts match. So I got to tell you, the two rings look gnarly. Having a live audience there, a larger live audience there, definitely gave it a big environment feel. So you had the
Oh, for sure.
Pinnacle, MJF, Wardlow, Dax Hardwood, Cash Wheeler, and Shawn Spears against the Inner Circle of Chris Jericho, Jake Hager, Santana, Ortiz, and Sammy Guevara. The Pinnacle came out all white, so you could get a better effect on the blood.
Oh yeah.
Inner Circle dressed up as dead presidents, right? They were in the prison jumpsuits.
Just Santana and Ortiz,
but they were wearing like prison jumpsuits. All of them.
But everyone had like their hometown or whatever on their back.
Yeah. Oh, is that what it was? I didn't notice that.
Which was pretty cool. I think it was their hometown or like whatever jail was in their hometown.
So what did they have? Rikers?
I lost the note.
What did they have? Rikers?
I'm not sure. I lost the note on it, but I think it was like New York Correctional or something like that.
Whatever it was. I didn't even notice that. Wow.
Yeah. So they each had like something different. I think Hager said "We the People" or something. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I mean his might as well should.
Sammy and Dax started the match, and this was the first part of this match was such a showcase for Sammy.
It really was. It really was. He looked really impressive.
Uh-oh.
You there?
Uh-oh. What happened?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you got me.
Okay, I don't know. I heard you, and then you just disappeared for a little bit.
Did you catch me? You got me now?
I caught you. Here you go.
You caught me like a little baby.
What I was saying was that, I mean, Sammy looked so impressive, and I don't think I've been this impressed with him in a while. You really don't get to see how good he is, and I think everybody knows how good he is. He's still very young. I thought Dax and Dax really gave him a lot. He really made him look stellar.
Yeah, dude. Like that, both FTRs. We can just call them the FTRs.
The FTRs.
Both the FTRs are such good workers, and they made everybody look like $1,000,000. And also, those guys are good bleeders.
So everybody's bleeding. Everybody was bleeding.
Cody's a good bleeder. He got busted open in his match. Everybody's bleeding in this match. Everybody in this match is a pretty good bleeder.
The only two that did not bleed was Wardlow and Hager.
Yeah.
Everybody else was bleeding. So the rules, I mean, it was War Game rules, obviously. The match does not begin until the final person enters. Chris Jericho, final person to enter, and they have that whole brawl. They're going nuts, blood everywhere, everybody's bleeding, MJF bleeding everywhere. Goes to the top of the cage, of the War Games cage, the Blood and Guts cage. Jericho follows him, and he nails him with the ring, and he threatens to throw Chris Jericho off the cage, right? And now everybody is telling him, no, don't do it. Santana and Ortiz are like practically climbing the cage, but Sammy Guevara doesn't see it and says, we surrender to prevent MJF from throwing Chris Jericho off the cage. No music hits for a little bit, and he takes him and he throws him off the stage, and he crashes on the floor on the grate, but it had like 6 feet of foam underneath, a stunt cushion underneath,
and metal grating and plastic metal grating, rubber
metal
grating.
Dude, it wasn't plastic; it was cardboard.
Oh boy!
If you flipped it, because when he dropped, you got to see underneath it. It was just cardboard and the crash pad. Listen, should he have done a dangerous spot? No. However, I think this is what I'm going to say here.
Okay.
And I said this to Rich before the show, and I want to know what you guys think.
Mm-hmm.
This is the key difference between what WWE does and what AEW can do. AEW executed a phenomenal match with a great possible ending. However, the experience of doing stunts like this for 25, 30 years that WWE's been doing it since the 80s, forget it. Let's ignore the 80s. Let's go into the 90s. They've been consistently doing these kind of stunts since 1997-ish.
Sure.
They know how to do this. They know between their cuts, how to cut the camera, what angle to shoot at, all of that. They know how to make it look as real as possible. AEW doesn't have that experience yet. You know what? The first blood, I'm not a fan of their big gimmick matches. I think in my opinion, the only one that really looked decent was the Sting and Darby Allin cinematic match for their big. That was the one that really looked good as a stunt match. But everything else that they've done, I've not been a huge fan of, including the Stampede.
I know you're not a fan of the Stadium Stampede. We talked about this before the show. I think the final bump at Stadium Stampede was done very well.
Because you didn't see it.
You didn't see it. It was very protected. And then they shot them like afterwards. They cleaned it up a little bit. I think, listen, I don't want to see anybody get hurt. You don't want to see anybody get hurt. But I do think a little movie magic was a little necessary to not make it look as hokey. And also, like, and you know what? I'm going to nitpick a little bit. We can do that sometimes. We're allowed. I wish that MJF didn't lightly push Jericho off the cage. I wish it was more of like a
big throw. Yeah.
Like a turn and like a big punch. Not so much like a throw, like a Mankind throw, but like a big punch. Jericho goes backwards and the show ends. Right? Like, I feel like you don't even see
the crash.
It would have been better if you didn't even see Jericho. You just see him fall and then the show just cuts off. I feel like that would have been a better ending because that cheats it a little bit. You can movie magic it and you're like, holy shit. Wouldn't you have rather been like, holy shit, like what happened to Jericho? Like, where did he land? As opposed to them doing the aerial shot where you see the giant crash pad.
Oh, I know.
You see the fake floor. Well, I feel like that little tiny thing took everybody out of this hour-long crazy ass match.
Yeah, dude. I think the match was executed great. I thought the concept of him falling was great. I understand you're supposed to protect him. It's not, it has nothing to do with, not protecting him. He should have fallen on the thing and this and that. But, like WWE would do that same spot, but they put the crash pads under the table, under the desk. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you don't see it, and it's not such a hokey fall on cardboard with like a plastic grate on top.
I'll give you a good analogy.
Yeah, shoot.
Not to cut you off, but it just popped into my head. Again, this is fiction. These are characters, right? This is you're supposed to suspend disbelief, right? You ever see Highlander 2?
Yes. One of my favorite Highlanders.
Okay, so the scene close to the beginning of the movie where old Connor McLeod is running away from the dudes on like those goblin gliders, right?
Okay.
You could see the strings holding these guys up, right?
Yes.
I feel like when wrestling does something like this, just like a slight camera mistake, you're like, I could see the strings, right? Like that's the metaphor I'm going to use. Like you don't want to see the strings.
I don't want to see the strings, but I also would rather with experience comes making this look great.
Absolutely.
This was a small preview and I mean this in a positive. I don't mean this in like a negative way. They don't have the experience with shooting stuff like this. They shouldn't because they're still new.
Right.
I know that they have great production guys over there, but they're trying different camera angles and they're in a weird building and there's all these other things that are happening. I think less is more, and it really took it away for a lot of people. Now, let me just tell you this. I was not as deeply affected as some other people with the show because I did not watch this with social media.
Right.
I watched it alone, like literally alone in the dark when I got home from work.
So sad.
Yeah, so I didn't really have like the pile-on to kind of affect my opinion of this. I just feel like, listen, it was a cool match. Everybody looked good. You just have to shoot these better.
Yes, I think people on social media had a fit because of the way it ended. And a lot of folks were kind of a lot of folks that we had on messaging us were saying like, why can't AEW end a show properly? And I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think that this is going to be the unfortunate stigma going forward? The Moxley, the kaboom that never happened, and then like the oddly timed Jericho bump. Do you think this is going to have a stigma on big matches in AEW's future?
I think people, they're always, listen, criticism will always exist, but I think when they do these big gimmick matches, they have to realize that they have to deliver all the expectations. They don't have the listen. WWE has done some hokey crap, but they make it look great. Bray Wyatt being set on fire is as hokey as you could possibly get. But
awesome.
it looked remarkable. It really did. I mean, it really forget about the stupidness of it. Their special effects team is unbelievable. They make everything look decent. Even that stupid Rey Mysterio falling off the freaking tower.
That was great.
That still looked okay, because you didn't really see anything. You just imagine he fell.
Well, I think with the WWE, you have like multiple people with many, many, many years of production experience doing these things, and like they're all coming to a consensus. I do feel like as far as cooks in the kitchen, WWE does that in an oddly great way where they have special effects people who can do this stuff.
Yeah.
Have you seen I'm going to work this tangent into this. Have you seen the new trailer for Fast 9?
I have not. No.
Okay. You have to watch it. And I feel like that is the perfect example of stuff making no sense and looking completely bananas, but looking flawless at the same time.
I got to see it.
Like there's a one scene where like stupid Dom drives his car off a cliff.
Stupid Dom.
But it hooks into like a piece of the bridge and it swings him onto like the other side of a mountain. And I'm like, this is dumb as shit, but I want to see it because it looks good. I feel like with wrestling, you need that little tongue-in-cheek. This is dumb as shit, but if we make it look good, people are gonna fucking go crazy for it.
You know what? I gotta tell you this. I'm gonna take this back. I think MJF's push of Jericho was actually good.
Okay.
I'm rewatching it now, and the way he does it is like, you're so weak, I don't even have to put effort in you because I've defeated you already. Okay. That's how he does it.
If you're gonna interpret it like that,
but
sure. I'm not gonna agree with you, but I see it.
Yeah, you see it though, right?
Yeah.
And then the fall just on pillows.
Did you see what Shotzi Blackheart posted last night?
I just like the gif of the bed.
The gif of the girl falling gently onto a bed.
Yeah.
Whatever,
Sean,
dude. I don't want to see Chris Jericho get hurt. I also don't want to see the guy at 50 plus years old going through flaming tables.
So, I mean, Sean Ross Sapp has our good friend has a tweet about this. He writes, "There's a healthy balance between cracking your skull open on concrete and Jericho's fall last night." That's it. There you go. That's the answer there. They just have to find that balance. So, but that was that. Listen, man, a good show. Really good show.
Really, really good show. Next week's Dynamite also.
Next week's Dynamite. Talk about next week's Dynamite because it's the match that we want to see is on there.
I don't care about anything else on that show. All I want to see is John Moxley versus Yuji Nagata for the IWGP United States Championship.
So, Darby Allin, Miro, nobody cares. Oh, by the way, Miro's promo was great also last night.
Nobody cares, yeah.
Last night was great. It was great. Nobody cares about that. Nobody cares about the Young Bucks SCU. All we want to see is Yuji Nagata. How old is he? 57 years old at this point, Yuji Nagata?
Oh, I'm going to look that up real quick.
First time on TNT since 1997-ish, 1998, I think.
Yuji Nagata is 53 years old.
53. There you go. And John Moxley for the United States Championship. This match, very excited for this.
I kind of want this to be like an hour-long slugfest. But I do think we're going to get like a surprise at the end of the match. I feel like Jay White is somehow going to show up somewhere. Maybe
eventually. We'll see.
I think so. He just got named, I think, New Japan's first Grand Slam champion.
Really?
Yeah, because he's held every belt, including, and he just got the Never Open.
Yes, yeah. He is a Grand Slam champion. Yeah, he is Grand Slam. By the way, in the notes it says Tony Schiavone interviews Jade Cargill, but I read that as Tony Schiavone versus Jade Cargill.
Oh, I'd love that too.
And I was like, I actually would love to see Tony Schiavone, the potato, get destroyed by this Amazon.
Suplexed.
This jacked, tight. Musculature.
Great, I have such a crush on her, let me tell you.
Jay Cargill, she's awesome. I like it.
100%.
New Japan news. You want to go into this? Did you watch the Will Ospreay match with Shingo? Holy moly.
I have it on deck for today as like my wind down for the week. I heard it was pretty rad.
Yeah, so there were a bunch of changes due to COVID concerns. Okada was one of the names removed from the show, so the show changed. Will Ospreay and Shingo Takagi had an unbelievable match for the IWGP World Championship. You know, this isn't the first time these guys have faced each other, but this is the first time they wrestled a IWGP World title match style, a heavyweight title match style. Obviously, Will Ospreay's a lot bigger than he was when he did the Super Junior stuff. Not as high flying of a match, but really great match. Really, really enjoyed it. Andrade has challenged Kenny Omega for the AAA Mega title.
Okay.
This is interesting. I'm very curious about this match.
I think Kenny's response was, "I'm a little busy right now. I'll get back to you soon."
Yeah, I think that's literally what he said. Dark Side of the Ring returns tonight with a 2-hour special on Bryan Pillman. We are going to be interviewing the creators of that show. I just got to schedule the date with them, most likely next week. We did not talk about the A&E documentary on Macho Man. Did you want to talk about this? It's bonkers.
So, Stone Cold one, a little bit sad, very good. The Piper one, very, very good, right?
Yeah.
The Macho Man one, I was texting you about it, and you were like, I'm getting messages from people who are not happy with this.
A lot of people were very upset over this, which, by the way, guys, none of this is stuff we don't know. The only thing I didn't know that was on that was the thing that made it, like, heinous, and that was the fact that he had a secret camera in Gorgeous George's house. Where he would record Gorgeous George and her 17-year-old sister.
Voyeurism, yeah.
I mean, voyeurism. Voyeurism. Okay, you know what? I think it's hysterical. Like, we could, not we collectively, all right? Not me and you. But I'm saying the wrestling community has heard the stories about how nuts this man was. And he would lock Elizabeth, the skirts. He was affected by the skirts.
Ladies going up the stairs got to take a picture of the skirts.
Oh my God, boy or macho. But they, you know, like we've heard the story about how like Elizabeth would be locked in a storage room, and like the wrestlers would like sneak food to her, or like when he would go away, she wasn't allowed to leave the house, so all she would eat was like TV dinners. Isn't that? I mean, like this is like, listen, both of them have passed away. I don't know what obviously we know what the story is because we've heard the stories, but neither one of them can talk about this at this point. However, like all of that stuff is like, okay, you know, it's a little much. And then you hear the story about the whole recording the girl, like she discovered a secret room with like cameras and stuff pointing. First of all, also, we don't know if that's true, right? Like, I don't know. This is the first time I've ever heard of that. I've never heard anybody else bring that up. I'm assuming A&E did their due diligence on an accusation like that. You know, they're not just putting it out there. I would hope so, but a lot of people were upset because they said that A&E was the documentary on Steve Austin was very light.
It wasn't.
You know, they didn't go
like
heavy.
very sad. It got very sad though.
Okay, so it did get sad, but it didn't go into like the fact that he had a police chase at one point.
No, it didn't. He didn't.
Remember the yellow Corvette incident?
That and like was that after he like smacked Deborah or something? Something
like that. Yeah,
you know, because that stuff like I feel like. You know, like talk about like what a different era. Like Stone Cold was public news that he like smacked around Miss Deborah or whatever it was, right? Tossed her around or something.
Allegedly.
That shit went away. Allegedly. So that shit went away after like a month and a half. You know, if that happened now, forget it.
Very different story. Very different story.
I've been canceled.
Yeah, he's been canceled. Listen, for anybody, I know you just want to do the voices. Vegeta.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Obviously, WWE's not going to sign off on A&E putting together a hit piece on the character of Steve Austin. They're not going to do that. So that's why you didn't see it. The Piper stuff, you know, I don't even think they went really heavy in it. Like, people are upset about how he was villainized in that as like a madman. I don't even think they went deep into it, but the Macho stuff was heavy.
Macho stuff was nuts. So you said the only thing you didn't know was the Gorgeous George thing. I didn't know about that. I was yelling at my wife about this, that I thought it was the greatest revelation on the planet, where I had no idea that his suits and outfits were made by a dude who would make suits and outfits for pimps. And he was designing macho stuff as like pimp suits. And when you take a step back and refocus your own lens on it, you're like, holy shit, that makes perfect sense. Look at the way he's dressed. I love that this dude, the designer, was like, I just had to paint Macho Man on his outfits
multiple times.
A million times. A million fonts. And I'm like, yeah, he was covered in the words Macho Man from like head to toe.
I'm going to the players' ball.
Yeah.
What was that show? What was that show on voyeurism? What was that show on HBO that Ice Cube was a part of?
Are you thinking of the Chappelle bit, Player Haters Ball?
No. Well, the Players Ball is a real thing.
Yeah,
and it's part of a documentary. I'm sorry, Ice-T had an HBO series. Okay, and he was the narrator, and it was about like pimps in Manhattan. Like, where is the place where all the pimps are? Like back in the day.
Was it?
It's not Greenpoint. It's
Yeah, it was
something point. Something point, not Greenpoint.
No, it was Greenpoint. No. It was like I think I know what you're talking about, because me and my buddy used to be obsessed with the show, and like it would start with a dude talking, but he'd like rhyme. He'd be like, hookers on the streets with corns on their feet, looking for money to pay their honey. And then they'd interview like hookers, and then like the Johns with like
Pimps Pimps Up, Hose Down. Wasn't that the documentary? Pimps Up, Hose Down.
Yeah, something like that. I forgot what it was, but like I think there was a few, but I feel like you're referencing the Dave Chappelle bit of the Player Haters Ball with Patrice O'Neal and like Charlie Murphy.
No. I remember that, but this was also an actual thing. This was an actual show on HBO, or a documentary on HBO. And you're right. It's something point. I can't think of the name. It's not Greenpoint.
It was called Hookers. It was called Hookers on the Point.
Was it called Hookers on the Point?
The one I'm talking about is called Hookers.
Oh, there is Hookers on the Point. That is a show. Yeah.
That's Hookers what I'm talking about. I don't know what you're talking about.
Pimps Up, Hose Down is what I'm talking about.
But I want to bring it back to Chappelle a little bit, in the regard of they shot that Hogan Steamboat bit like that Rick James bit.
Oh, yes, 130%. That's what it was. Yes. So for people who don't know, go ahead, tell them, because this was hysterical.
So Hogan is like, there's no way, brother, that they went into this and they went into WrestleMania 3 thinking they were going to steal the show. That's preposterous. And they immediately cut to Ricky Steamboat going, we went in there wanting to steal the show.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It was awesome. The other thing that was fascinating with that one is how, like, since when is Hogan Andre considered to be a really good match?
I think it's considered the most legendary match of all time.
And it is. Because it is 130%.
Andre gives him the rub, and he slams Andre because, listen, the fans weren't as smart as they are now, where Andre had been slammed 8 million times before that by a lot of different people.
Do you want to hear my Andre the Giant getting slammed?
Please.
I think I've done it before. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Hey, it's me, Andre the Giant from Brooklyn. Hey, Hulk, pick me up and throw me on the floors, all right? That's what he said.
By the way, my wife wanted to kill me after Saturday.
Oh, have you been doing that voice for the last, week?
I've been doing the voice for the past week going, it's me, Michael B. Jordan, the actor.
We were doing that at my son's birthday party, Rich and I, on Saturday, and I think like 2 people found it hysterical. Everybody else was deeply annoyed.
We got a lot
by the amount that we did. We did get a ton of eye rolls. But I thought that was interesting. Like Peter Rosenberg is saying how that match was one of the best matches of WWE. I'm like, it was a memorable as hell match. It doesn't need to be one of the greatest matches in WWE history to be memorable, but you also can't act like it's one of the best. Watch it now. Watch it today and tell me that's a really good match.
You know what? I feel like that match was the original Rock versus Hogan.
That probably, yeah, that was. But
You know,
that
like
Rock
the
versus
same
Hogan
vibe.
match was better.
Yeah. Did you watch the Piper documentary?
I saw like the beginning of it. I didn't continue watching it.
Mm,
What did you
very
think of
good.
it?
I loved it.
I mean, they've been really good. They've been really good. I saw part one of the Pillman documentary. It was released
Very
on
good.
YouTube. Part one I saw. Part one it was really good. Part two and part one, it's a 2-hour special tonight on Vice. I highly recommend you guys check it out. I'm very interested to see. First of all, the story is bonkers. I didn't know a lot of that. How the secret daughter.
Yeah, dude.
That I didn't know. I knew that Pillman's widow had some issues. I know that it was difficult for Bryan Jr. I know that it was difficult for the daughter. I had no idea that the first wife was attacked by her, I guess her groundskeeper. What was it? The maintenance guy in the building stabbed her in the face with an ice pick.
Oh my god, dude! Like that whole document, like the stuff that you didn't know, is very fascinating. She got attacked by a groundskeeper, stabbed in the face multiple times by him. Pillman, to his credit, I mean, like he seemed like he was a bit of a Lothario. Whatever, he was sleeping around. But the fact that this dude was like, "Oh, I got another kid, bring him on board."
Yeah,
and like a bunch of illegitimate kids saying, like, "You know what? I'll take care of them. I'm cool. I love these guys. These guys are great."
Yeah, very interesting stuff. But it had me thinking, like, if that SUV, the Hummer flip didn't happen, if he didn't have these health issues and the drug problems, 1998, 1999 would have been a very different year in pro wrestling.
It's very fascinating because he made such an impact on the people behind the scenes. He had an impact on Dave Meltzer, and it was over a very short period of time.
And you could tell Dave and him had a very tight relationship for many years. Him and Dave, would speak, and Dave really was he knew a lot of the stuff that was happening, especially leading up, with that SUV flip and everything. The fact that this, it would have been about Austin and him for sure.
Yeah.
That Austin Pillman feud would have been money.
Plus an Austin Pillman tag run also would have been money.
Would have been money. But then what does that mean for, what does that mean for The Rock? What does that mean for Hunter? What does that mean for everybody else? Really interesting. Fascinating stuff. I hate, I mean, listen, it is a bit morbid to sit there and think like, well, what if this guy didn't die? But it is also interesting to think, the trajectory of all these people's careers was impacted, positive and negative, due to his passing away. And I think that's something to kind of talk about and to kind of, remember that it was a crazy time period in pro wrestling, 97, 98. And then, he was one of the, was he the first guy actively on TV to pass away? I believe so.
I want to say at that time, yes. Like the first active wrestler that passed away during his run.
During like on a signed to a contract, wrestling, like active within the company. He was still active. He was going to a show.
I feel like I might be wrong about this. I'm gonna look it up real quick. I want to say Art Barr, maybe.
Louis Spicoli, I was gonna say.
Okay,
but I think Spicoli was after Art Barr. Let me see. Art Barr died when 94. He died, but 94. I don't think Art Barr was on TV. He might have been in Mexico when it was happening. Yeah, he was in Mexico when it was happening.
Okay. I also wanted to say Chris Adams, but I think that was a little bit after his run.
Chris Adams. Gentleman Chris Adams?
Gentleman Chris Adams.
He died in 2001. Yeah, 2001. Yeah, but I think that was after his run. Well, he died 46 years old. So he was very interesting. I mean, and then you saw, I mean, 97, 98, 99, 2000, 2001, and then that list goes on and on of all these pro wrestlers dying in their 30s.
Rude,
Unbelievable.
Mr. Perfect. Really
Yeah.
nuts when you think about it, especially like when I was that age, being in my late 30s was like, thinking about it was like, oh, this is like a lifetime away, you know? But now I'm in my late 30s. I'm in my last year of my 30s. I'm like, oof. Whenever I see something like that, I'm like, oh no, that's nuts.
You know what? Like, you know what's crazy now, dude? Like whenever like something tightens up on your chest, you're like, oh shit. You know what I mean? Like now it's the age you start thinking like, oh, that pain I got on my side, what the hell could that be? You know? Like, am I done? Is this it?
I try not to get as alarmed at that stuff because I always just kind of blame it on like, oh, I had too many onions yesterday. Like today, like I woke up feeling like garbage because I made like chili yesterday, but I went like really heavy on the onions. You know, nice. I felt like you ever see The Shield?
Yeah, the TV show.
Yeah, with Vic Mackey, like every 2 seconds, this guy's like clutching his chest.
Yes.
That was me this morning, and I was just like, oh, I know it's the onions.
Carmella. Let's go into Q&A, boys and girls. Submit your questions in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer them.
I'm sorry. Can we go a little bit back to the Piper thing?
Yes, go.
I have a question for you. So I'm watching the Piper documentary. I'm loving it, the A&E thing. I'm a big fan of Piper. I always have been. I'm also a big fan of that style of wrestling, that quote unquote blood and guts style of wrestling. You know, like they show him and Valentine working like the first ever dog collar match, just like dudes beating on each other and getting bloody. And like Piper, they talk about how Piper was stabbed so much that he had to line his leather jacket with Kevlar. Oh, yeah, you know, like he was attacked by fans to the point where he had to protect himself. Ric Flair quickly tells a story about how in some arena, some dude showed up with like a rattlesnake, like a live rattlesnake, and threw it at Piper.
Like, I mean, can you believe that, though? That's how crazy people were getting.
So my question to you, which my wife asked me last night, she was like, you're so all about this Piper documentary. How do you compare the wrestlers you like now to this guy who lived like this brawling lunatic lifestyle?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, right? Because it's such a different. I think Piper was very unique. I don't think we'll ever get a guy like him again because I think he was a little crazy.
Well, him and Flair had a good quote on the documentary too. He said, you know, when I first met him, the management put us together, and that was very suicidal because all they would do is wrestle, drink, party, and then the next day wrestle, drink, party. Kind of like what we do.
That's exactly what we do. We tussle, though. We don't wrestle.
We tussle. By tussle, we just like tussle each other's hair.
Yeah, that's it. Q&A time, boys and girls. You ready, Rich?
I am ready. You want me to start running down these questions?
Let's do it.
All right. This is from Enzo's Butthole. I assume there's somebody in the chat room named Enzo's Butthole. Is McAfee the best out of industry commentator that WWE has had?
That's a great question. Out of industry, yeah, I guess so. Right? Who have they had that is out of industry that was good?
That's a good question. Renee Young.
You know what, Renee? I would say, but Renee on commentary wasn't awesome.
I feel like she got put off kilter by Vince yelling into her.
I'm
headset.
Sure. Oh, I'm positive. Yeah, I'll agree. He's probably the best out of industry commentator.
Okay, I'll agree with that. Alexander asks, legit question. With AEW being continually really good on TV and pay-per-view, AEW being new, and with Raw being so bad despite being in existence for almost 30 years, is it easier than we think to run a TV show?
It's much harder to run a TV show than we think. It is so complicated. I don't think people realize the complexity of putting on a live 2-hour, 3-hour product that doesn't go awry in some capacity. You really have to have the best of the best. Listen, mistakes happen, but you really have to have like the best of the best at doing that. And it's a very specific need to shoot wrestling. It's not like shooting anything else. So you really have to be experienced. And I think, that's why WWE has the experience with their overall TV. Yeah, the product is stale, but man, they make things look great.
They do. I think, I believe Cody in an interview a couple of years ago when AEW first started, I want to say he said that the toughest part is getting the timing perfect for a 2-hour show, which is very tough because if you're a producer, somebody's going to say, hey, look, this segment is running 30 seconds over. And then you're going to have to cut those 30 seconds. Or if like, hey, we need to fill up like 45 seconds here. What do we do? So it's very interesting you have to allot for time. You have to allot for promo time, match time, commercial breaks, commentary segues, and there's a million moving parts going into live TV. I feel like Tony Khan and all these guys really stepped up to the plate as far as AEW goes. Couple of hits and misses, but for the most part, like they make it look easy, which I feel like is not an easy thing to do.
No, not an easy thing at all.
We got a question from Adam, friend of the show. I think friend of yours in real life.
No, I don't know Adam. I don't know Adam why. No.
Oh, okay. Should they have a vignette of Taker biting Bray Wyatt to explain why he's a spooky zombie now?
Brilliant. I want to know Adam in real life now.
I'm gonna take a bite of your
Can you imagine? That's how the spooky people are created in WWE. Just the Undertaker going and biting them. He's now becoming like this old man on a throne, just sitting there, and then it's just people voluntarily giving their hand for him to bite.
You just want him to be Dracula.
I want him to be a Dracule. I do.
Would you be shocked if, let's say next year, pandemic has died down, it's all safe. The big reveal is that like Undertaker comes out and he's like, by the way, I'm Dracula.
I would love it. I'd be really into it. No, I'd be like, yeah, he is a Dracula. He is a vampire.
Like the Dracula.
He is the Dracula. Yeah, I'd be fine if he's the Dracula.
He's Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yes.
And he's lived a very long life, but settled down with Michelle McCool.
That's perfectly fine. I'm okay with that. If that's his send-off story, I love it.
Did you see his the A&E
I did.
collector ones where he's putting on the old jacket?
Oh my god. Warehouse. And it looks so goofy, right? Doesn't he look like a goofy person doing that?
Because he doesn't want to do it. I think that's
he doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to put on that ridiculous tie. And then the mask, right? They found the mask. He's like, oh man, I haven't seen this in about 25 years. And he puts it on.
The other thing about that is I truly find women the most fascinating people on the planet because God bless Michelle McCool. Like she turned around and said, that's the dude I want to marry.
This guy is the guy that I want to marry. The Undertaker.
Can I take you on a date?
You think they just ride on a coffin?
Maybe we can go to Arby's.
I would like that. I would like him to go to Arby's.
I feel like I always imagine Taker driving around in like the Munster Mobile.
Yeah, the Rob Zombie car.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, the Dracula.
Yeah.
Gabe asks, "Have you guys seen the Arrow? Have you guys seen Stephen Amell's trailer for Heels?"
I did, and it did not look great. Did you see it?
I've only seen the behind the scenes stuff, and the pictures look pretty fun.
It didn't. CM
Punk is on it.
Yeah, it didn't look great, but it's still an early trailer, so I'm not gonna judge him yet.
We got another question here from Corey Richmond. What's up, Corey? Did the multiple commercial breaks take you out of Blood and Guts?
I know it did to a lot of people, not me personally. How about you?
Yeah, me neither. I was totally fine with it. I'm also like that time of night, like I'm doing the dishes, I'm doing a bunch of stuff, so like I was totally fine with that. Let's see, Large 23. Did you guys catch Jarrett's podcast? Jeff Jarrett, I'm assuming. Hated the guy then, but now he's got an interesting story.
Yeah, man. Listen, shout out to Conrad because this guy's able to create, gold every time he gets one of these guys to do a podcast. I think it's very interesting. I think the Jeff Jarrett story is really interesting. He's very likable on the podcast. But I've also heard that he's a very likable guy in real life. We see a character on TV. But I do have PTSD from that freaking TNA theme.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God. When I hear that thing, it just, I die inside a little bit.
I will always remember Jeff Jarrett because of you, because you would go on these tirades about how he's got the best punches in the business.
Jeff Jarrett does have one of the best punches in the business. Yeah, all those guys in Memphis, phenomenal punches. But I don't know if it's better than Bret Hart's. Who has a better punch, Bret Hart or Jeff Jarrett?
Oh, you know what? I'm going to go Jarrett, but my favorite punch, Steve Austin.
Steve Austin has a great punch. Jerry Lawler, another great punch. Scott Hall, great punch. A lot of those guys had good punches. You know what? Who throws the best punch right now?
Mox has a very good punch.
I can't even tell you. Nobody really stands out currently to me.
Okay, I think
Mox does have a good punch, but nothing really like stands out.
Cody's got a good punch.
Okay, but yeah, it's a big wind up. Cody does like a big wind up. You know the other thing, I went down the Bret Hart rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody bounced off the freaking ropes like he did. Nobody did that Irish whip to the turnbuckle like he did. You know when he goes face first.
All right, so I'm going to throw something out there that I actually did want to talk to you about. Bret Hart, and Dustin hit the ropes super, super hard.
Super hard. Oh, Dustin leans. I mean, you know who else did it that way? Boss Man. Boss Man hit those ropes super hard. He wouldn't bounce off the top rope. If you ever noticed, he would lean down and bounce off the second rope when he did it. But you're right. Dustin leans in heavy into the ropes.
Well, I think also it's like, I feel like, which I kind of romanticize in my head, is like, I feel like if I was like an Austin or a Dustin, I have the mentality of like, I'm going to try to break this ring and just like hit the boom, you know, like, and like, that's what it looks like they're doing, you know?
Taker will lean heavy also, big time. Interesting. You know what? I highly recommend, if you want to see like how snug these guys worked, they're coming for you. They're here. I called them, Rich. Sorry. It's time.
Oh, no. I gotta go, buddy.
It isn't, now everything is so fluid, you know, like every move just looks so smooth. Nothing looks intense. And I think with Bret Hart, I mean, this is a guy, he used to take that thing right on his sternum, face first, boom, and then bounce right off. Or even his freaking atomic drops. You know, he would hit you with an atomic drop, and I would be like, ow, my butthole. Like, I would feel it in the butthole. And is that what that move does? Is that the purpose of the atomic drop, is to, like, affect your butthole a little bit? Be like, ow, that kind of hurts.
I think the atomic drop is supposed to fuck up your coccyx.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, you know, the bone that's inside the butthole.
Yeah. The bone inside of the butthole.
The other bone inside your butthole.
Yeah. There you go.
John Gorman. Glad you're feeling better, John Gorman. Heard you got a case of the COVID. We wish you a speedy recovery. He asks, with Double or Nothing going full capacity, when do you think AEW/WWE will go back to live touring?
June. By the end of June.
I'm going to say July, but
okay, you know what?
Let's say end of July.
I would, you know what? Let me just say, by the beginning of July, they will have something announced.
Get those vaccines, folks, so we can watch them wrestling.
We can watch those wrestling.
Open mouth kisses. My arm's turning black, by the way. Is that happening to you?
Dude, my arm didn't turn black, but I had like a little twin pop out from the side of my neck. And he came out for like a couple days. Yeah, like a baby Andrew, and he was just like heckling me for like 3-4 days, and then he just disappeared.
I think I'm developing. It looks like a closed eye.
Oh, is that what it is?
My vaccine arm.
That's all right.
Hey,
Dr. Fauci, is that okay?
No problem. I'm the doctor, Dr. Fauci.
Yeah, Vinny Boombots, Dr. Vinny Boombots.
That's also the silliest impression I think that you've ever done is Michael B. Jordan, the actor.
And how about Michael Jordan, the basketball player?
And Michael Jordan, the basketball player.
I also played some baseball.
Oh boy, he was on the White Sox, right?
He was on the White Sox. Yeah.
I think the Michael B. Jordan thing made me laugh even more because yesterday, DC announced that they're writing a Black Superman movie with like a Black Kal-El and a Black director.
Okay.
And people have been wanting Michael B. Jordan to play Superman for ages.
But can he? He's a Marvel guy.
You know what? That's what Vicky said yesterday.
I don't
and
like
I was
that.
It's
I don't
fine.
like that. No, I don't like that. I don't like that. Michael B. Jordan can't play a black Superman because he's a Marvel guy, and it's gonna ruin it for me.
Because he was in 2 Marvel movies?
He was in 2 Marvel movies. Yes, I don't like that. I don't like the flip-flopping of franchises like that. I know it happens.
Did you not like Henry Cavill as Geralt, the Witcher?
No.
You just want to be Superman?
Always. Don't like it.
Fair enough. But I think Michael B. Jordan, the actor, would be a great Superman.
Hey, it's me, Michael B. Jordan, the Superman.
The Superman. All right. We got Corey Richmond here. We got about 10 minutes. After the Savage documentary, what do you expect from the Warrior and future episodes?
The Warrior one's going to be interesting. Because they put out. I think people forget that WWE put out a DVD burying this man for 2 hours, and they made him look into. I mean, it really made him look like a real head case, right? Like real wacky guy. And all of a sudden that went away, and all these people are just praising him when he came back to the company. So I'm curious how they're going to be honest about this. His wife's on it. I noticed she works with WWE in some capacity, so it's not going to be an utter hit piece on him, but they have to go into the reality of he was a dick. He was a real asshole. And I could, listen, I very easily, this guy is not the same person as the human being. Like, I could do that. You know what I mean? Like, this guy from my childhood that put on this face paint and would run around like a lunatic, I could separate it from, my child, from the reality of who he was.
Yeah.
With that said, I don't know if WWE is going to do that right now with the Ultimate Warrior, considering how much merch they sell of the Ultimate Warrior.
Well, I got kind of a question and a statement for you. Like, do you just think that all this A&E stuff and all the Dark Side of the Ring stuff should just be called the self-destruction of so-and-so?
Yeah, the whole thing, yeah.
The whole thing, that's just like what it seems. Like they did the self-destruction of the Ultimate Warrior. I feel like the Macho Man doc could have been called the self-destruction of the Macho Man. The Brian Pillman thing could have been called the self-destruction of Brian Pillman, I think with the Warrior thing, I feel like it's more walking on eggshells now because of how he died, as opposed to like they could easily talk about like the nutty stuff he was doing on his own. Remember his YouTube channel where he would come out and pretty much talk about like he would do his Ultimate Warrior promos except as if they were real?
Yes, and he would talk about it was very dark. I'll tell you, it would get very dark on his theories of things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. I'm very interested in seeing what they do with Warrior. For
do you think he would have been? Do you think he would have ended up being like a QAnon guy?
Oh, I think he's like a mole men people guy.
Oh, he's like beyond QAnon. He's
yeah.
You guys don't know the truth.
Flat Earth.
Oh.
He would have been on Rogan. He would have been talking about what was his workout of.
DDP yoga,
not Vitality. He had that workout program.
Yeah.
Well, it was like a made up word.
Virtuality, was that it?
No, God, somebody in the chat room could definitely do it. Jesse Ventura's another guy they should do one on.
Yes, 100%. He's got an interesting story.
I hate Hulk Hogan. He's all shaky now.
From being like on top of the wrestling business to commentating to being in movies.
Distrucity. Oh, boy. That was his thing. The word is distrucity.
It sounds nuts.
Do
you think? How do you feel about Drake Younger, referee from NXT?
He's gotten a little wacky. I'm gonna tell you
with the QAnon stuff.
Listen, man.
Should we not be talking about the QAnon stuff?
You've said it way too many times, and we're getting demonetized at this point.
I thought it was about Q from Star Trek: The Next Generation.
It is about Star Trek: The Next Generation. By the way, my favorite Star Trek is Next Generation.
Hey, same here, man.
What else do we have?
Let's see. We got a couple more here. Rated C. What are your thoughts on the MLW WWE possible partnership?
I don't know, because I heard that nothing is there with this. Somebody told me that it was just rumors. Nothing is confirmed. So I don't know. I don't know who would benefit from this.
I feel like WWE benefit from it. You know why? I think they want Jacob Fatu.
Oh, they definitely want him.
Right? I feel like they would buy the whole company.
Just for Jacob Fatu?
Just for Jacob. And also, like, imagine if WWE absorbed MLW and then on NXT we got, like, the Aztec Temple, but WWE style.
Oh, so wacky, man.
I want to think about that wacky wrestling shit. Tim Anger, why didn't they do anything with Bo and Bray?
Because they're stupid. That's all. That's why.
That's it?
Yep. That's why.
All right. Let's see. We got a question from... Shall we do one last one and wrap it up?
Yeah, one last one.
From Shin Solidus, fan of the show, fan of the Shin right here. Long time. How long until Wardlow
time?
Long time schmong time. How long until Wardlow becomes world champ?
When never. But is he a Wardlow fan? Is that what it is? What? I think he's big into Wardlow now.
I think Shin's two big main attractions are Wardlow and Baron Corbin.
Oh, love it. Love it, love it, love it. All right, guys. That's it for today. I am done. I am toast. I am exhausted. I'm Andrew Zarian, and that's Rich. You can follow me on Twitter at Andrew Zarian. You can follow Rich at BTC Rich. He also does a great podcast, Behind the Counter 2.0. Drops every Saturday morning. Where can people find it?
I'm at BTC Rich X on YouTube. You can subscribe to my channel. Please subscribe. It's a lot of fun. This week I'm having Elliot Kalin, who is he was a head writer from the new MST3K, and he writes this comic called Maniac in New York. We have a fun conversation, and you can find me at BTC Rich on Twitter.
Yes. Yeah, and that's it, guys. I'll see you all next time. Take care.
Later.